Hey everybody, I'm your host, Caitlin Savosi Belknap, Move to Amends National Director, coming to you live from Sacramento, my house. As always, you can find us normally here on the last Wednesday of every month at 5 o'clock Pacific on Facebook Live and Twitter too. So, how's it going, everybody? It's not normal in any way, shape, or form these days. I always work from home, so life isn't that different in some ways for me as it is for probably some of you, but still, it's absolutely bizarre how everything changed so drastically. Um, and the whole world as we know it is different in a matter of weeks, and there's still more to come. So I hope right now you and your loved ones are safe, and I appreciate you tuning in with me tonight. Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the US Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and to get big money out of politics. So I'll be sharing some news and updates. We're still trying to figure out what working on Move to Amend looks like in this new coronavirus era. But we definitely didn't want to not be available to say hey and check in. And there's a lot of corporate rule news that we want to share. So as always, we are going to do a giveaway. So we'll give away one of Move to Amend's t-shirts at the end of the show, and you can win a t-shirt by helping us spread the word and sharing this stream either on Twitter or Facebook, depending on which one you're on, and using the hashtag Move to Amend and hashtag Live Report. And folks who do that will we'll select one from each platform to win our shirt at the end. So again, is share this live feed with the hashtag Move to Amend, and we'll pick two lucky winners, one from Facebook and one from Twitter, to win one of our shirts. And you can also ask me questions anytime. I'll answer them at the end, and Alfonso will help with some links to some of the stuff that I'm citing. And if you're tuning in not live, feel free to ask your questions in the feed, and we will definitely get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So, as I've already said, the world as we knew it before has stopped, and everything is up in the air. But it doesn't seem like greed has slowed down at all. Greed is still going strong in this era. We've probably all heard the stories about people who are taking advantage of things that are scarce, like medical and hygiene supplies, and hoarding masks and hand sanitizer and toilet paper and reselling them at a higher price, which is obviously ridiculous and shitty. And media has been covering that a lot, but there's a lot less coverage about how corporate America is trying to take advantage of this moment. The healthcare industry stands to gain billions of dollars in emergency spending because of the pandemic, and bankers and investors are going to probably be bailed out. In recent weeks, investment bankers have pressed healthcare companies on the front lines of fighting the coronavirus, including drug firms developing experimental treatments and medical supply firms to consider ways that they can profit from this crisis. Gilead Sciences, the company that's producing the antiviral remdesivir, and that's not the same Gilead as the Gilead from Handmaid's Tale, although maybe there's some similarities here. So this pharmaceutical company manufactures one of the most promising drugs to treat COVID-19, and is only one of the firms facing investor pressure. Also, Rising Pharmaceuticals, the only U.S. drug maker that makes chloroquine, an anti-malarial and a potent treatment against COVID-19 as well, currently being tested. They raised the price by 97.86% as a result of this. Rising Pharmaceuticals, it's appropriate, rising their price, obviously came out to say that the price rise was coincidental, and they restored the old price back once it realized that the drug might be in demand because of the outbreak, but reversal of the price lift has not shown through yet. And do you think that these pharmaceutical companies will pass on what former Goldman Sachs hedge fund manager and now the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, blatantly called a great investment opportunity? Pharmaceutical companies view COVID-19 as a once-in-a-lifetime business opportunity. Quotes. The global crisis will potentially be a blockbuster for the industry in terms of sales and profits. And the worse the pandemic gets, the higher their eventual profit will be. And you know that they're not sad about that at all. The ability to make money off pharmaceuticals is already uniquely high in the United States, because in our country we lack basic price controls that other countries have, giving drug companies more freedom over price setting for their products than anywhere else in the world. During the current crisis, pharmaceutical makers may have even more leeway than usual because of language industry lobbyists inserted into the $8.3 billion coronavirus spending package passed last week to maximize their profits from the pandemic. This aid package not only omitted language that would have limited drug makers' intellectual property rights, it also left out language that had been in an earlier draft that would have allowed the federal government to take any action if it has concerns that the treatment or vaccines developed by public funds are being priced too high. But unsurprisingly, this aid package passed unopposed, including with these provisions in it that gave drug companies more latitude and more ability to profit off of this crisis. That's no surprise, as a new research study found that from 1999 to 2018, the pharmaceutical and health product industry spent $4.7 billion lobbying the federal government, more than any other industry, and spent another $1.3 billion in contributions to political campaigns in federal and state elections during this period. And in 2019 alone, the pharmaceutical industry spent $295 million on lobbying, far more than any other sector in the United States. From the same study, nearly all of the 40 legislators in Congress that received the most money from this industry served on committees responsible for healthcare matters. Many of the top recipients held senior positions in these committees. The industry seemed to be trying to influence the outcomes of state referendums on measures aimed at lowering drug costs as well. And it's not only obscene that pharmaceutical companies are seeing this pandemic as a commercial opportunity, but also let's not forget that most of these drugs, like remdesivir, are developed in partnership with universities through grants from the federal government, meaning we help to pay for these resources to exist in the first place. But Big Pharma is not the only leech feeding off of this world crisis. Airlines want a $58 billion bailout after spending $45 billion on stock buybacks. Yep, you heard that right. From 2010 to 2019, U.S. airlines spent 96% of their free cash flow, some $45 billion, to purchase shares of their own stock. The world's largest carrier, American Airlines Group Incorporated, was the biggest buyer, spending $12.5 billion. Basically, the airline industry had all the money it needed to prepare for a crisis like this, was advised to do so, and instead dumped what it had into boosting share prices and their executive bonuses. Airlines, and both airlines and all other corporations, really shouldn't see a single penny of taxpayers' money, especially companies like airlines that are contributing to the global climate crisis. Instead of bailing out corporations, we should be bailing out the planet and people. But we know that that won't happen at the moment, at least, especially not when the person in charge of distributing the money is Steve Mnuchin, aka the foreclosure king. This is the guy to whom the Republicans are handing the $2 trillion of relief package, the biggest in American history, to dole out with practically no oversight at all, and how he now works for the king grifter in the White House, who, by the way, has vowed to personally oversee the coronavirus slush fund. There's no reason for any thinking person to give Steve Mnuchin that much money. I wouldn't buy an apple from the guy. The GOP's coronavirus relief package is a dream for big corporations and a nightmare for those of us struggling, which is at this point increasingly the majority of Americans. An early version of this relief package literally allowed for Trump's hotels to get a loan, but not Planned Parenthood. So under the language included in McConnell's bill, the Trump hotels are fully eligible for emergency loans, but Planned Parenthood would be banned from accessing crisis loans because of, quote, an exclusion of nonprofits receiving Medicaid expenditures. In the face of this, Democrats demanded GOP leaders remove this and other other problematic provisions and add some very reasonable provisions, such as a ban to ban companies owned by Trump or his children from receiving bailout money, which should be a no-brainer. No company owned or controlled by Trump, his children, Mike Pence, or members of Congress should be receiving taxpayer bailout money. Another provision that they should add in is that bailed out companies should be prohibited from buying back their own stocks. That would be a good start to fix the crooked corporate welfare system that we currently have. And speaking of crooked, did y'all hear about the members of Congress that sold off their stocks conveniently before the market crash from the coronavirus pandemic? So a number of US senators sold off a combined millions of dollars in stock, according to multiple independent reports. Senator Richard Burr, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who dumped more than $1 million of stock. In total, 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat made up this shameful list of public servants that basically used their inside info, the fact that they were briefed on the fact that coronavirus was coming and would be what it was, and then they dumped their stocks in order to make sure that they weren't caught in it. Meanwhile, also telling us all that it wasn't going to be a problem and that everybody was going to be safe and okay. Luckily, 3 congressional Democrats on Monday introduced legislation that would bar lawmakers and staff from trading stocks. We should already have that. We shouldn't even need that at this point. It's ridiculous that this even has to happen. But Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York and Raja, I didn't say this ahead of time, Krishnamurti from Illinois and Joe Neguse from Colorado are the Congress members pushing for this bill. So be sure to thank them on social media or on the phone, and to call other reps and ask them to co-sign and support this bill. And you can also be calling about House Joint Resolution 48 still, of course. So with most people working from home, or in some cases not currently working at all, it's the perfect time to call your representatives and senators about things that we care about. We definitely need to stay on them about the stimulus package. We have the one in progress now, but there probably will be additional ones coming after that. And it's really critical that we not allow them to get away with bailing out banks and giant corporations and only doing the bare minimum, if anything, really to support regular everyday people who are going to be the hardest hit from this whole situation. You're listening to the Move to Amend Monthly Live Report. I'm Caitlin Saposi Belknap, Move to Amend's National Director. Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and to get big money out of politics. You can ask me your questions anytime during this broadcast, and I'll answer them at the end. And don't forget that if you share the link and help us spread the word, then you'll be eligible for our drawing at the end, one on Twitter and one for Facebook listeners, to give you one of our t-shirts for free. So please help us spread the word and get in on that opportunity. Next, we'll do updates from the Move to Amend campaign. We're still, like I said, trying to figure out exactly what organizing for Move to Amend looks like in this age. Obviously, corporate rule is still going strong and stands to really benefit from this crisis, as per usual whenever there is a crisis. So there's plenty to do, but we might be pivoting our work on the amendment to some degree, pivoting to some other things, helping people understand the context for what's going on, providing analysis, which is something that Move to Amend has done all along, to kind of peel back what's on the surface to help people see what's underneath. But despite all that's going on that is separate and different from maybe the business as usual and typical lay of the land, this month we did get another co-sponsor. So we're currently at 73 co-sponsors. So welcome and thank you to Representative Katie Porter from California's 45th District. Want to give a shout out to Katie, who's been doing great work on behalf of the people, working people, in response to the coronavirus as well. So good timing to have her come on board as our newest co-sponsor. Remember that our goal for 2020 is 75, so we're at 73 already. And if your House rep is not a co-sponsor yet, then you could give them a call and let them know that we would love their support. The We the People Amendment is so essential to reining in corporate power in a systemic way, making clear that only human beings have constitutional rights. And if we lived in a system where that was the case, it would be a lot harder for crises like this to be used as an opportunity to grow corporate power. So we still need our We the People Amendment as much as ever. We're also still working on the Senate front. Things have been put on hold a little bit in terms of those meetings while Congress is prioritizing other things, but you can still make your calls to your senators and let them know. And calling them during this time is helpful to help them see that this is still a priority, even though, you know, everyone's attention is currently more focused on other things, obviously. So we were aiming to do a week-long a week of action starting on May 4th through May 10th. In light of the current situation, it's a little bit up in the air what our schedule will be and what the timing will be. So we're kind of waiting to see. But we will be doing a meeting next week online for anyone who wants to connect with Move to Amend in this era. And we want to invite you to that. I don't think actually we have the RSVP link though together yet, right? Alfonso, we're kind of putting that in order. So we'll share a link in the comments for this, and stay tuned over this next few days and into the weekend for the RSVP link to join us for that conversation online. It'll be an opportunity to just come together, those folks who are in the Move to Amend Greater community, and talk about how you're doing. We want to check in with everyone and also talk about where we go from here. You also can help us. We're putting together some videos, and you can do them right from your home. All you have to do is record yourself answering a few questions. We need those recordings to be under 2 minutes, but we'd love if everyone could introduce yourself just briefly, and then let listeners know you're recording into this video how you see Move to Amend's work to abolish corporate personhood as integral to other issues that you and your community care about. So do that for like about a minute, and then the next prompt is, what is the next project or campaign that you are organizing with Move to Amend, and what will your next steps be? About 30 seconds. And then what would you tell someone considering getting involved with Move to Amend? And then end your video by saying, please sign the petition and make a donation at movetoamend.org. Count to 10 before ending the video. So Alfonso can post these instructions again. Remember that we're looking for videos under 2 minutes. And the main thing is just how you see Move to Amend's work to abolish corporate personhood as important to the other issues that you and your community care about. And then what you're doing to work with Move to Amend, and what you would tell somebody else who's thinking about getting involved. And we're looking to crowdsource these videos and find some folks who want to help us spread the word in that way. So if you'd like to raise your voice up in that way, then please let us know. You can also contact us at affiliate-support@movetoamend.org if you have questions about it and to get involved. Also want to let everybody know that we have a new website. If you go to movetoamend.org, you'll see our new site. There's still a couple things that we're putting in place, but the whole look of it has changed. If you're looking on your phone and you have ever looked at our website on your phone before, you'll see that it's a lot spiffier now and actually mobile friendly. So we're really excited about that. There's also some new tools with this new platform that we're using that will allow us to more effectively reach people, especially online. So it's kind of good timing given that everything has turned online, at least for the foreseeable future. So please go check it out, movetoamend.org, and we'd love to get your feedback as well. And then we are looking for examples of corporate rule stories, things that have happened in your community or that you're aware of that help illustrate why we have a system of corporate rule. So Alfonso will share the link for submission guidelines. You can either tell us about a story and we'll cover it, or you could even submit the story and write it yourself. Let's see, is there anything else that I want to say? I think that's probably it on the main stuff in terms of Move to Amend. Again, let me know if you've got any questions at any point in this broadcast, and I'd be happy to answer them. And you're listening to the Move to Amend Live Report. This is Caitlin Saposi Belknap. I'm Move to Amend's National Director. And Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and get big money out of politics. I'm happy to answer your questions anytime, or ask me them anytime. I'll answer them at the end. And don't forget to help us spread the word by sharing the link to this broadcast and using the hashtag Move to Amend. And 2 folks who do that will share with you one of our t-shirts, one on Twitter and one on Facebook. So next up is our dispatch from the Grassroots. All right, hold on one second. My computer froze, so that doesn't help me see the list of things I'm supposed to say. All right, there we go. Want to give a shout out to all of Move to Amend's local affiliate leaders as they just adjust to life in a time of quarantine. From Anchorage, Alaska to Pensacola, Florida, our grassroots groups are coming together to support their communities and each other during this pandemic. Last Saturday in California, where the state had been put on lockdown, California Move to Amend State Network adjusted their plans to meet in person for the first statewide affiliate summit ever, and held a video conference between local leaders between Los Angeles and Mount Shasta and Humboldt County. Grassroots Director Keon Bliss and I were really happy to join them in this day-long conference as they talked through the current moment in crisis, as well as discussed how to mutually support each other's communities during this crisis while continuing to grow our movement across the state of California. We're really proud of our grassroots leaders here in California and look forward to their continued growth as a statewide network. Shout out to Sacramento Move to Amend for a great meeting with staff for California Congressman John Garamendi in his local district office the week before the state went on lockdown. Our local leaders in the California Capitol have been diligent in their pursuit of co-sponsors for HJR 48 and have already succeeded in securing support from Representatives Doris Matsui and Ami Berra, who are their other 2 reps. And so hopefully they can get this final one and keep up the good work. A shout out to our folks that Move to Amend Tuscaloosa, Alabama. As the state responds to the pandemic, our grassroots leaders in Alabama are finding opportunities to continue meeting together via phone calls and Zoom conferencing to adapt their outreach and support for their community. If you live in Alabama, keep an eye out for future events and opportunities to get involved via teleconference, as well as the return of their movie night. Thanks to Move to Amend Tuscaloosa for your great work. And great job to our Ohio folks from Greater Dayton Move to Amend and We the People Miami County as they continue working together to target their House reps and local candidates for public office. As our Dayton leaders continue giving public talks to local groups and community colleges, our Troy volunteers are out bird dogging candidates for U.S. District 8 at local campaign events. Even as Ohio has entered lockdown as well, they continue to coordinate their activities and adjust their activities to do what they can from home. So we're really happy to have you all in this movement and grateful for your flexibility and creativity in terms of figuring out how to keep on under current conditions. So those are the campaign updates because, again, we're sort of in the process of figuring out what things look like in this new era. We will have a call next Thursday that all of you are invited to, and we'll be posting the details about that really soon on social media and on our website. And please go take a look at our new website. Let us know what you think. If you find any broken links, definitely let us know. But hopefully you'll find that the information that we have is really streamlined and much more easier to find. We have a wealth of info on our website 10 years of information, in fact, and we kind of combed through it all and pulled out the most important pieces to rise to the top to make it easier for new folks to get involved. So does anybody have any questions? I'd be happy to answer them. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end to see if you're one of our t-shirt winners. Looks like there's a question about pledge to amend. So, candidates, I think, are also trying to figure out how to campaign in these current conditions. And what to do. And so now's a really good time to reach out to their campaigns and ask them to take the pledge to amend. If you go to movetoamend.org/pledge-amend, Alfonso can share that link. You can learn more about pledge to amend. You can see which candidates have already taken the pledge. And then you can take that link and send it to folks who are running for office. You can contact them through their social media channels. You can send them an email through their website, and just let them know that you'd like to see them take the pledge to amend. Ideally, contacting all the candidates who are running in a race is a great idea. But again, as we all are looking for ways to get our word out via the internet, since we cannot be in person, making sure that candidates know that if they take the pledge, then that provides us an opportunity to let our supporters and the larger public know which candidates have taken the pledge and which ones haven't. And the pledge is a commitment to use their office to support the We the People amendment. So we're targeting folks who are running for Congress, obviously, but also folks who are running for state and local office too, because corporate personhood affects all communities and is increasingly directly irrelevant to communities. And then also at the state level, that's true too, but in order to pass an amendment to the Constitution, we need to have states ratify it, right? So that's a critical way that states are going to be needed, and getting people who are state legislators to sign on now is important for when we get to that point in the future. And also the people who are in state office or even local office are more likely to run for higher office down the road. And since this is a marathon, not a sprint, kind of a campaign that can't get done right away, then it's going to be important to plant those seeds with folks who are leaders in the political realm, because we're going to need their support down the road. So if anybody has any other questions, let me know. I would love to answer them about Move to Amend generally, or anything else that has come up. I also want to just put the word out that we want to help share networks and resources for the folks who are doing mutual aid. And so we'll be doing some of that on our call on Thursday, and some of the, we'll continue to, as we see updates about things. It looks like Trump is going to try to save his neck, and the argument that the economy needs people to go back to work before. So right around Easter is when the World Health Organization is saying that the United States is going to become the epicenter of coronavirus for the world. And right around that time is when Trump is saying that people are going to need to go back to work, which is a terrible idea. That will make this disaster even more of a disaster in the long run. It will make it so that more people die, and we can't let that happen. And we're seeing lots of conversation about a general strike. Should it come to that? Should people be forced to go back to work when conditions are not actually safe? And so keep an eye out for that, because that might be a really important thing that we all need to engage with in order to make sure that our fellow community members are safe, and that our needs are prioritized over corporate needs going forward. Looks like I've got another question. No more PSA from Judith from our Santa Clara, California Move to Amend group. Says that they'll be holding their next meeting on April 1st using Zoom. So if folks want to connect with them, if you live in the Santa Clara area, then you can go to our website and find that group, and then we can put you in touch. Let's see. Somebody else asked, never lobbied or called my rep. Do you have resources available? We do. If you go to our website, I don't know if Alfonso, you can really quickly pull up the lobby link, but we have a whole page on our site where you can get scripts for making calls, and also directions on if you want to set up an appointment. Obviously, right now in this day and age, we don't really know what that looks like. Congressional offices are not having public appointments to the public, but maybe those will start to happen by phone. I certainly talk to congressional staff in DC oftentimes via phone, and so that's something that you could do, set up a call with your rep staff, and we can tweak our resources as it becomes clear that this is probably going to be our new normal for months. So we don't have anything about setting up calls right now, but we have details for how you can get started with setting up a lobby meeting. And then the other thing is, in terms of making the call, it's really easy. There's a whole bunch of, if you don't know who your congressperson is, the best thing to do is go to movetoamend.org/amendment, click the link to see if your rep is a co-sponsor. So if you don't know who your rep is, that's something you want to research first, and that's easy to do via internet search. And then you want to go to our site and find out about the list of current co-sponsors. Check to see if your rep is on the list. If your rep is a co-sponsor, it's a good idea to call them and thank them so that they know that this is something that their supporters care about. But if not, then that's perfect, because then you want to give them a call. And all you need to do when you call House of Representatives members is just call their, you might want to call their district line and their DC line, and then just tell them that you're a constituent and you're calling to ask them to co-sponsor House Joint Resolution 48 or the We the People Amendment, but call it House Joint Resolution 48. That's what they'll know it as, and that's all you got to do. And it only takes a couple minutes. It's really easy. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to explain why. If you want to talk about why you think that it's really important and why you personally support the We the People Amendment, you're absolutely allowed to do that and able to do that. But if you're not sure even how you would articulate that, that's okay, because you don't need to know. You just want to call and voice that request. And it's something that's a good idea to do repeatedly. So call once a week about this issue, or whenever you're calling about something else, add this in. Let's see. Somebody else asked, there's a lot of debate around housing and landlords in this time of uncertainty. How does corporate personhood link to this issue? That's a good question. I think it's not necessarily super straightforward always, but increasingly, so I live here in California, increasingly, properties are owned and managed by corporations, and there are very few, relatively speaking, people who just as individuals are landlords these days. And so that ties into corporate personhood potentially in terms of legislation that might be passed to protect renters and tenants, and potentially corporations being able to make the argument that those somehow violate their constitutional rights. There's not a direct case and link that I know of to make at this time, but I think this is developing, and it definitely could become relevant more. And there may be examples out there. So if anybody does know of a nexus with corporate personhood and housing, around landlords and ownership and tenant rights and things like that, that would be a great thing for our corporate rule stories. And please let us know. We'd love to get your input on answering that question better if anybody has examples from your community. Does anybody else have any questions? It looks like Alfonso has the winner for Twitter, but not for Facebook yet. So I'll give it another minute to see. Looks like he's working hard right now, checking stuff. So what else could I mention while we're waiting to see if there's any other questions? Trying to think. One thing that we wanted to mention is Naomi Klein and The Intercept are doing a talk tomorrow online. I think it's at 2 o'clock Pacific. It'd be great if Alfonso, if we could share that link on coronavirus capitalism and how to defeat it. And that would be something that I'm gonna tune into it, and others might want to check it out. So we can include that link. It might be at the end, since I see Alfonso working quickly to see if there's any questions and busy doing other stuff. So we can share that at the end, but wanted to give an announcement about that. And also, if you have any ideas, thoughts for actions that could happen in this, new era, we obviously need to continue to keep the pressure up. One of the things that is happening right now, which Naomi Klein is kind of an expert at talking about, but others as well, is that these policies that corporate America have wanted to push forward a crisis like this is a great opportunity for them. And they know that. And so they kind of create policies and ideas to push forward and kind of shove through in times like this where things are chaotic. And sometimes that'll be like a rider on another bill, but sometimes it'll be a full-blown proposal. So those of us who are old enough to remember when George W. Bush was president, and the Patriot Act and what happened after September 11th, and the fact that the Patriot Act was, instantly available, this, hundreds of pages of document, clearly not written actually in response to the World Trade Center attacks so much as something that had already been sitting around, and the opportunity to ram it through came with that. And so we need to be vigilant about when those kinds of examples come forward and fight them. And it's hard to, just calling is not necessarily enough pressure. So we're going to have to figure out ways to act collectively in this new era that are as powerful as possible. And it'll be important for us to come together and be creative in terms of those strategies. So let's see. It looks like last call for any questions. The winners of the t-shirts, thank you so much for helping us spread the word. So Mary Hamill from Twitter, you win a Move to Amend t-shirt, and Joe Goki from Facebook. So if you are Mary or Joe, send us a direct message, a private message with your address and the size that you would like, and we'll get that in the mail to you probably next week. Any other questions, Alfonso? Looks like no more questions. All right, great. Well, thanks so much for tuning in with me. We may do some other live reports as needed through this time, but the next regularly scheduled live report will be on April 29th. It's always the last Wednesday of the month. I was scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. that week. I don't know if that's what will happen. We'll see. But either way, I'll be with you online. And thanks so much for helping spread the word. And again, if you're tuning in to the broadcast, not live, please ask your questions anyway, and we will be happy to answer them. So thanks to Jason and Alfonso, as always, for support on this broadcast. And thanks to everybody for your support of Move to Amend. Remember that we can't do this work without your donations. And I know that it's a precarious time for everyone right now. A lot of organizations are asking for support. And so, and there's a lot of direct service stuff that is needed, masks and things, because our country is completely ill-equipped at taking care of people. So there's a lot of competition for those dollars, understandable. At the same time, we have to stay focused to at least to some degree on the long-term systemic solutions to our problems, and not lose ground there. So if you're in a position to make a donation to Move to Amend, you can go to movetoamend.org/donate. If you're in a position to be a monthly supporter like I am, then thank you so much. We would really appreciate your support, and that could be the best way to give a little bit every month so that, it works for anybody's budget, and also provides us some reliable funds so that we can continue to do this work. Thanks so much, everybody, for being part of Move to Amend, and I'll see you on April, what did I say? 20, nope, now I'm in June. I'll see you on April, I lost track of myself there. Yeah, April 29th, if not before. And if you have any questions, please visit us at movetoamend.org anytime, and we'd be happy to answer them. Have a great night. Stay safe, everyone.
Corporations are not people too. Money is not speech. Man, in fact, it's the root of all right. Now we have the right to be free. Corporations are not people too. Money is not speech. Man, in fact, it's the root of all right. Now up and defend your democracy.
Have you recently read the Constitution? There seems to be some type of confusion. I thought it said the people were the institution and not the corporations that simply want to use them. The truth is currently a fusion of corporate loot and our government that is outright abusive. People need change. The state, it refuses. They're saying we're mistaken. Well, show us where the proof is. They control the media, movies, and the music, and determine where supplies of the water and food live. We need a strategy. Here is a solution. Build a movement to give our rulers improvements.